Hi. Hey, for this week's video, I actually need to fix some of my vintage clothes. So I thought it could be like a thrift flip, but now the majority of all my clothes I buy are vintage, so I don't really want to flip them. I do have a lot of vintage clothes that need to be fixed. They either have stains, holes, they smell weird. That's why I thought instead of it being a thrift flip, it could be a thrift fix. I'm going to show you guys what clothes I need to fix. I haven't decided yet because there's a whole pile of it. Just come on. We could go take a gander at it. Let's go. Gotta get out of the chair.
So here's my pile of clothes that I need to fix. It's a lot, and I know that. And so I went through the whole entire pile and picked out just some of the items I want to fix. First up are these Justin Roper lace-up riding boots. They just need some new life to them, so I took out the laces first. So the tongue of one of the shoes is all messed up. I bought it like that when I found it at the thrift store, so I'm just cutting it off and there it goes. Then I'm taking the little fringe bit that goes on the front of the shoe and I'm going to replace the tongue with it. So I'm just kind of measuring it out, see how I like it, see how it fits. And then I'm cutting off the fringy bit of it so then I can sew the rest of it onto the shoe. I'm first gonna pin it there, make sure it stays in place so it does not move. I took this needle that has a triangle shape tip. I don't know names of needles, but I took that so it's easier to sew through the leather, and that's what I did, and I sewed it on and it kind of looks like a Frankenstein tongue, but I think it looks way better than what it was before. Now, to make the shoes all nice and snazzy, I took this Kiwi Conditioning Oil and slathered that all on the shoe. This is just gonna protect the shoe, also give it some shine, and it also makes the shoes look way nicer. I also use this brush, which makes the shoe polish even shinier. Then I put the laces back on, and bada bing, bada boom, the shoes are done. Next up are these Wrangler jeans. There may not seem like there's nothing wrong with them, but they have some stains on them. So I'm going to cover them up with some patches. I'm just going to go through some patches, pick out my favorite ones. I decided on this Olympia one, and then this Harley Hog one, and then also this little Budman guy. He's super cute. Bye. So I decided to put the hog one underneath the butt. There's no stain there. I just felt like putting it there, so I measured it out where I wanted to put it, and that's a really odd video of me trying to measure it out. And then I pinned it in place, and then I just started sewing away. Sewing my life away. That's what it is. Here is the actual stain. I can't get it out, so I decided to cover it up with the Olympia patch, and I did the same exact thing where I just pinned it down, and then I just sewed it on. And then the last patch is this little Budman guy, so I just put him right there, and then the pants are all done. I really like how these came out. It's a very simple little fix, but I feel like I could keep adding more patches to these pants and they'll just end up looking super, super cool. And it's a great way to cover up stains that you can't get out. Now it's time to tackle these shirts. So the problem with these shirts is that they all have stains on them. So whether you find a vintage tee at the thrift store or at a flea market or even from other sellers, they'll sometimes have these like yellowy stains or sometimes armpit stains. So what I'm gonna do is kind of show you guys how I get stains out of shirts. And as you will see later on, that it's kind of a process trying to get these stains out. I usually wash my shirts in the sink, so I just fill up the sink with some water, add some laundry detergent, and then also add some baking soda, and then I also add hydrogen peroxide. You can also just use OxiClean if you want to, but for a cheaper option, use baking soda and hydrogen peroxide together, and that forms a kind of homemade OxiClean. Now I swear by this combination, it gets about all the stains out of everything. So I do that to every single one of the clothes, and then I kind of just let it soak for like half a day or so, and then I pull it out and I let it hang dry. Now if you want to do more than one item, I also used a container to put some clothes in. You don't have to use a sink. Now for like armpit stains or tougher stains to get out, I take a bowl and then I put the shirt in it where the stain is, and then I put laundry detergent and then also baking soda and hydrogen peroxide, and I kind of let it soak and it's more, you know, concentrated. The dye in some vintage t-shirts like to bleed, so be aware. So I use like color catching sheets. In order to do that, I either press them onto the area where it usually bleeds, or I put the sheets with the item while it is soaking in the water. And once all the items are done hang drying, I throw them in the washer. For the most part, when I let it soak and then I hang dry it and then I put it in the washer, a lot of times it gets the stain out, sometimes it doesn't, and I do this step over again. Some stains are a lot harder than others, like this blue buffalo shirt. Those black stains are very tricky to get out. But I promise you, this trick has saved so many of my shirts. Second to last item are these pants. These are 70s bell bottoms, and the elastic in the waistband doesn't stretch whatsoever. It is very stretched out. These pants would fit me if only the waistband fit. All the craft stores are closed, but I did find this vintage elastic in my sewing box, so I'm going to use it. It still works. So I just pinned it in place and then I started sewing. And I'm actually doing this wrong. I later find out that how I'm sewing it in is not a good choice, and me putting the elastic down, you know what, it's just gonna be a hot mess. You'll see later on that I fix it. This right here, that's one of the mistakes I made. Yeah, not a good choice. And then I just kept going on with sewing these little elastics into where the previous elastic was. I only sewed in 4 of these elastic things, and then I realized this is where my mistake was, that it got all scrunched up because I sewed it in wrong. So I had to take that all out. So I re-sewed the elastic in, and what I did this time was, instead of like pinning down the elastic, I would pull the elastic and then keep sewing, and then every inch or so I would pull the elastic again, so then it would have a tight grip on, if you know what I mean. I'm not a professional sewer, okay? I don't know anything about sewing. I'm learning as I go. And this is why I stopped using the pins, is because it was actually breaking the elastic when I pinned it in. So I had to re-sew a few strands of elastic in order for it to all look great like it is now. But I'm very proud of myself fixing these pants. This is the first time I've ever fixed elastic in pants, and I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back. Some people who are probably sewers are probably cringing at what I did, but it worked. Okay, it worked. Now, the last item I have to fix is this 2-piece vintage set, and I love this set, and I kind of forgot I had it, but I realized why I never wear it anymore is because I burned a hole in it, and then my mom tried fixing it, and it's not super noticeable, but I can notice it and it bugs me. So I want to fix it so I can wear it again. At first I was thinking about cutting it, and then I was like, no. I want to preserve it. I want to be able to, or whoever owns this piece after me, be able to unstitch what I'm going to do, and then it can go back to its original length. That's the whole point of why I'm doing this. So first what I did was roll it up to the length I wanted it to be, and then measured it all the way across to make sure it's all the same length, and then pinned it in place. And then I made little darts because there's extra fabric, so I'm just gonna pin those in place. And then I also ironed it. I didn't want to use an actual iron because I like using a straightener for some reason. To sew it in place, we're going to use a hem stitch, so I'm going to just thread my needle, and then I'm going to just do a knot on only one side of the thread instead of the thread together. Then I started from the beginning and kind of just sewed it in place so it has a nice little base to start off our little stitch. And then for the hem stitch, you basically do a little stitch where the top of the fabric is, if that makes sense. And then you go back down to like where the garment would attach, and then you do a little sewy. I don't know if I'm describing this very well, but Just watch the clip and you'll kind of see what I mean. I'm much more of a visual learner, so me just looking at this, I can kind of get it. But me talking about it, no. And then I did a ladder stitch on the sides of the dress. Since it has a split, it kind of had like this little hole in it, so I did a ladder stitch. And I also did a ladder stitch where the darts are going to be, just so it seems a lot more seamless. And then I brought out my straightener again, just so then I can iron the hemline so it's a lot flatter. The stitching formed this weird line that caused the bottom of the skirt to ruffle, which I kind of liked the ruffle, but I didn't like the line, so I grabbed some vintage lace that I thought was really pretty, and I decided to sew it on right where that line was. Then I steamed it so there were no wrinkles. And this is how the skirt turned out. I really like it. I kind of liked how there was extra fabric at the bottom of the skirt, so it kind of caused this little ruffly hem, and I really liked the lace. It kind of gave the whole entire set a totally different vibe.
Alright, so those were all of my little thrift fixes. I was thinking of making this a little series because I have a lot more clothes to fix, and I'm someone, if I find something at a thrift store and it has like a hole or something in it, I want to fix it because I want to preserve that vintage item and bring it back to its glory. Stay tuned for more thrift fixes later.